Leore, welcome to this podcast session. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to interview you. Please tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you're working now.
So, hi Gideon, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. My name is Leore. I'm the head of sales and marketing operations at Syte. I joined the company 3 months ago, and I've established this department, which never existed at all. At Syte, what we're doing, we're building a powerful platform that redefines the way of retailers to engage with customers and shoppers to find their product they want. We're an AI solution, and our mission is to curate the user personal shopping experience by making its inspiration in the world immediately discoverable and shoppable from any platform. When I joined the company, we've only had a sales department that works very professionally and amazingly and succeeded to grow and generate business within 2 years. And they've hired me to not just establish a department, but also understand our revenue growth, understand our pipeline, and understand how we can increase and improve ourselves in the perspective of productivity and also from generating revenue. We can see today that many startups don't understand how much essential is sales and marketing operations, or even revenue operations, as companies call it today, to actually understand the pipeline and understand how business should be or can be, and how the departments work together to improve ourselves. And basically, as revenue operations, we are hired not just to build strategies and processes, but also we understand the customer journey. We understand how to capture and collect the data, and by that, actually try to analyze, understand the sales cycle, understand the customer, and what should be improved at every milestone that we visit or revisit the customer.
That's really interesting. And one of the things that I'm aware of is that Syte is really one of those hyper growth companies that's growing head over heels and really enjoying a lot of success in recent months and beyond. When you talked about customer journey, one of the things that I'd like to know and we'd like to know is, with all of the different sales tools and marketing tools that you probably have in your stack, how do you find where the gaps are in data, and how do you also connect attribution throughout that journey?
So most companies, or at least from my experience, I don't actually understand the value of managing a CRM or managing a process in one platform, and usually either use various external tools or even Excel spreadsheet to not just analyze and monitor the pipeline, but also create forecast plan and business plans. So what I think revenue operations leaders do is they collect and gather all the data in one place. They are trying to build a process and strategies that create the customer journey and connect between the departments. So if we are starting with the top of the funnel with marketing, we understand and we help marketing to generate more leads, to bring more business, and then move it forward to the business development department to help them with prospecting, understand the milestones in between, and how we either bring new customers to the pipeline or support expansions and other business opportunities, and then help the customer success or support department to receive the data, to understand the customer, and help them not just keep using the product, but also help them with the onboarding plan, with the kickoff meetings, and make sure that the customer journey or the customer process is smooth.
That's a great answer. You gave something really comprehensive there. And I think it only begs the question from me is, obviously with opening your sales operations department and building your processes out, I imagine one of the issues you had to tackle was challenging or defining your perceived buyer persona versus the true buyer persona. Is that something that you've taken on board, and what impact does that have on the progression of leads through pipelines?
Okay, so what I've discovered at Syte, for example, and also at other companies that I've been as a sales operations manager or revenue operations, that we have a lot of data. We might think we understand the customer journey or the customer, but actually once we take the tools, capture the data, and we try to understand who is the buyer persona, because sometimes we are targeting titles or even companies that we think are part of our verticals, and actually they might not be the perfect persona. Or we create campaigns, we targeting specific titles from specific companies with annual revenue or number of employees. But then again, we understand that maybe they can be a good fit for the company, but when we reach or schedule a demo meeting, we understand that this is not the perfect fit to use our product. So what we can do and what we're doing is, as revenue operations leader, we take the data, we try to analyze the pipeline, and by using the lead progression, understand the conversion rates and the funnel of our customer journey, we can learn not just the buyer persona, and also we can understand and learn more about his or her interests, or the right company from the right territory with the specific or special needs. And we can even understand the use case and be more focused in bringing new business and the right business in a short and smooth process, instead of spending a lot of time with cold calling, prospecting, and trying to understand who is the right persona to close the deal.
That makes a lot of sense. And I imagine for most kind of tech companies in a similar space that one of the typical friction points will be in the handover from SQL to SAL, sales qualified leads over to sales accepted leads. How do you strike the balance, at those transition points between, ownership of leads, between the need to deeper qualify from a sales company perspective versus the need to keep the rhythm and the momentum quick from a buyer perspective? People want a convenient buyer experience. So those are two opposites. How do you strike that balance? What's your strategy with that?
So I would say that by understanding the qualification criteria and understanding the persona and the use case and pain, we will be able to understand, and we will be able to schedule more demo meetings and turn them, at least at Syte, as an SQL, and invite the AE to perform a demo and convert it to an opportunity. Because once you understand the qualification criteria and you understand your business, your product, and the messaging, it will be easier to prevent delays between the stages. You will be able to have much higher conversion rates, and you will be able to close the deal much faster.
I remember from our previous conversation that another area within the buyer journey that's particularly important to you is closed lost opportunities, because of the fact that they can contain so much good information. It can tell you, for example, whether it was a product fit or whether it was the timing or various other things. How do you evangelize as a sales operations and revenue operations leader the need to practice good data hygiene on closed lost opportunities, and why it's not something that should be seen as with stigma? It's not something that people should be afraid to do a good job with. How do you overcome that, and what are the benefits from your point of view?
One thing that I've learned in my career is that nobody loves to close lost an opportunity. So that is why most of the time we see that the AEs will not convert a lead to an opportunity, just because they are not 100% sure that this lead will be a closed one and a new business for the company, a new logo for the company. But I think that from close lost, we can learn the most, because what we can do, we can turn the negative into a positive. We can capture a lot of data. We can ask the AE to provide some information, and also from the SDR or BDR perspective, to provide information that will help us later on when we analyze the close lost opportunities, try to understand where we did wrong, or what we did wrong, or why we did wrong, or what we can learn from this lost opportunity, and how we can maybe bring the same company to and convert it to a closed one, or use this use case and bring other companies that might be similar or might have a similar use case, and instead of having a closed lost, having it as a closed one in the pipeline. Also, the closed lost analysis actually will allow the company to understand and learn about ourselves, about our product, maybe what we need to improve, and how we should work with the data and R&D team. And then we can increase our, not just the revenue growth, but also the productivity of the whole company, the whole team, not just the teams that are related to the customer journey, but also other teams that develop the product. And this is very, very valuable information that not everyone understand how much it can help the company and the departments to improve themselves and create a revenue machine.
I completely understand. And if I was to summarize that back to myself, in terms of changing mindset, the common mindset is that closed lost is final. And what you're really saying is that closed lost is just a stage in the bigger journey. And it's absolutely not final. It's an opportunity to learn, to revise, to improve, and to come back again, even maybe with the same opportunity, with the same account, and do a better job the next time round. That's great. That's fantastic. So I imagine then, to wrap this whole theme up in terms of the buyer journey and all of the important milestones along the way that you've shed light on, as a sales op and revenue ops leader, what give me a deeper understanding or a better understanding of what is your typical decision making framework? How do you prioritize one milestone over the other when it comes to operational planning? And how do you get the other stakeholders, maybe even leadership team, to align with that? I imagine that not everybody has the detailed understanding of the data that you do. Not everybody has the experience within the bits and bytes of revenue operations. So yeah, how do you prioritize, and then how do you invite leadership into that priority structure to share and align with it?
First of all, it's a great question. And what I usually do first, I timestamp the milestone in the process, because I think one of the important steps that we have to understand in our customer journey is the funnel and conversion rate. So in order to do that, I have to mark the important steps that our customer experience during this journey with each department in the workflow and pipeline. So what I do is I sit with every stakeholder at the company, with every manager, understand, and together we decide not just what is important, but also what will help us understand the sales cycle. So what I actually do, I work with the managers and stakeholders to understand the sales cycle and understand the funnel, because I think the most important thing is to understand the cost per stage, and we need to understand how much we spend during the customer journey, and how much we spend every time we meet the customer, and every resource we invest during the process. So from my position, we need to mark those milestones, and then we have to create not just a funnel report, but also a cohort and conversion rates to better understand where we succeed, where we fail, and how we can improve ourselves from everyone's perspective, how we can be better, and how together we can win this account.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess to help different line of business leaders to own that and partake in it, they have to see failure as not being final, just being as an opportunity to improve. And and then it comes down to the CEO to give the to align the greater vision that we're in this together, and we win together, or we lose, or we all lose together. I mean, there's no middle ground, right? One team can't win and everybody else loses. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, that was really insightful, and I imagine that using data makes it more objective and less emotional.
Exactly. Also, we can use the data to forecast and see how much we can grow in the next Qs. So this is very, very important, and that is why I think revenue operations is an essential function at the company. And every startup, if they want to grow and they want to succeed, they must hire such function, because us revenue operations, we see the full picture. We see the full customer journey. We are not concentrating on one step of the funnel, which means either marketing, sales, customer success, support, finance, etc. We think from a higher level. We look at the macro, not the micro. And this allows us not just to forecast, but also to understand the pipeline and understand our productivity as a team and as a company. And this is how I think and I believe you build a successful revenue machine and you bring the company to a success and hyper growth.
Fantastic, Leore. I've really enjoyed your answers. I've really benefited also from your experience, not only at Syte, but the prior companies as well. It's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. And we look forward to following your continued success. And I'm sure over the coming months, Syte will be achieving more and more. So we look forward to that. Thank you so much.
It was lovely, and thank you for having me.